And the cool thing about the Optigan, every disc has a theme. So this one is called Romantic Strings in 3/4 time. And you have, on the keyboard side, you have usually an organ. But on the chord buttons here, you have loops played of real musicians on real instruments. A big part of working with old equipment is realizing that you're not in control and you have to embrace the randomness of that. It changes constantly. After I got my first Mellotron, I was like really curious to find sounds and instruments that had that same kind of atmosphere. Because whenever I use the Mellotron, it has a tendency of just like transforming the track into something very special and slightly surreal, because I mean, they're real instruments, but they're not really real instruments, so it sounds always strange. So I started talking to people about, is there an instrument that sort of sounds like a mellotron but isn't a mellotron? And then people started talking about the Waco Orchestron. And they were super rare, and everyone was like, you'll never find one. And my engineer said that, well, and if you find one, I won't fix it for you because they constantly break and they don't really work. The Waco Orchestron originated from a home organ that Mattel made called the Optigan. And that is what we have here. And the Optigan works the same way as an orchestron. It plays these optical discs, and it's called Optigan, of course, because of putting the two words optical organ together, and they get Optigan. But the cool thing, and then up here you have vamps and drums and loops and all that. But the cool thing, what you can do is that if you take the disc and you flip it upside down, it goes backwards. And then you have, this one is the classical guitar in 4/4, which is one of the most common ones, but sounds amazing. See if I can get the rhythms to play. A lot of these keyboards or pieces of equipment are really wonderful. Oh, this is what playing an Optigan is like. But they're fairly unreliable, and they change, and they sound different every time, and they're not really trustworthy, but they're wonderful and they're fun and they've got character. So they're great to hang out with, but you wouldn't necessarily lend them money. That's like the thing. There you go. And this was most famously used, but that's the Chiltern Talent Maker, on Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. You got the way that I produce things is that I want people to listen to something and go, oh, that's great, I like that. But I don't really get something. And then they go back and listen a second time. And they go, oh, wait a minute. And then they go back and listen a third time. And then they go, and they maybe can realize that there's a second layer in the song that isn't apparent on the first listening. I like to hide stuff in the songs. I like to, I don't think it has to be, because if you get it on the first time, I mean, why would you listen a second time, right? There's nothing in that. And that means that you have to spend a bit more time, and you have to like be a bit more articulate about what that second layer is. If you're going to hide stuff, you have to know like where those secrets are going to be.
I'm filming one of the most quirky shots that I have ever attempted.
I think you're in the wrong key, man.
Every key is the right key.
You really think so?
Yeah.